Hello Year 10, this is Miss Brooks with a screencast to help you with the article Let Our Kids Have Their Muck Up Day, which is an open letter by parent Susie Jones, and this is for week 2 of term 3 in Year 10 English. So before I kick off, I wanted to tell you about a great kind of study card app that you might use on your phones in addition to or instead of, it's up to you, your study cards that you've created, because whilst they are great and handy to have at home, maybe on your bedside table or on the bus, they're not always convenient to carry with you. And a student from year 11 introduced me to this program, Study Blue, in which you can create or use some study cards that someone else has created. So you've got to find the app on your smartphone or log in your computer. You sign up. I used my school account, so I imagine you would use yours too. There's this little backpack icon that asks you if you want to join a class, but I actually think when you first log in, it'll ask you what school you belong to, and I think you can select that, then join a class, and I've got a Year 10 English one there. And there's 2 sets of cards that you can study. So I'm going to take you to the website. Now I'm already logged in, and these are my classes, but say I'm on the home page, this might be it actually. This is a set of study cards that I've made up, so set 1 Muck Up Day, and I can open that up and I can say, oh, I want to study these now, and I want to take a quiz. I want them to be all the terms, random, and I want it to be multiple choice and true, false. I don't want to have fill in the blank. If that was like that, it would have fill in the blank, but I don't want those. And then you click Study Now, and it creates a little quiz, which is 9 questions long, and then you can go through and answer it. So negative connotations, negative or unhappy feelings, appeal to traditional custom, this one, way it's always been done, attack, criticize a person or group, positive connotations, words that give you a positive feeling. True or false, expert recommendations, individuals, yep, true. Juxtaposition, true. Appeal to sense of justice, to criticize a person, that's wrong, false. Repeating words or ideas, true. Inclusive, false. And it says 100%, and it's grade my quiz. Yep, they're all correct, they're all in green, so I'm done. And usually it load your results at the end and you can see how you've gone. So I got 9 terms studied and 9 correct. So you can do it again if you want. It's up to you. There's a couple of sets there in that class. So if you go back there, there's another one called Top 20 Persuasive Techniques that you can do a study quiz on. Now it looks a little bit different on the app, but I think you still have the same options. So have a little play on it, that one at home, and have a go. But what I'm going to do now is walk you through an analysis of this article here, Muck Up Day. I was working with a great bunch of students today, and we only cherry picked out a few different things, and I asked them would they like a screencast to go over a few more. They said yes, so here you have it. So the 3 things that you'll need your hard copy of this article to write on. If you've been working on the table in class, then maybe you can open that up, and I think it looks like this. You might want to have it handy. My group, we didn't use this, but that's fine. I'll give you a copy of that on Monday so you can follow along in your classes. But otherwise, you also need the article, 3 different coloured highlighters, and a pen or a pencil, whatever you like to write with. So the first thing that we need to do, and you'll see I've used different colours because we've already read it and decided on our 3 arguments. So one of the arguments that we decided the author was making, Susie Jones, was that Muck Up Day, is a long and proud tradition. Susie Jones argues, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Muck Up Day is a long and proud tradition. Susie Jones argues that, what do I want to say there? That it is a celebration that is important in all our lives. Okay. So then we need to unpack the ways that she's making these arguments. So her argument is Muck Up Day is a long and proud tradition, and that it is a celebration that's important in all of our lives, a milestone that we all should celebrate. So how does she do that? And so this is where you need to know your techniques so you can pull them out. So she starts with, in the title or in of her letter, let our kids have their Muck Up Day. And this is called inclusive language, our kids. And that's immediately appealing to parents because they will have a sense of responsibility as if it's their role to ensure their children have access to a Muck Up Day, which Susie is about to explain is a very important tradition that they need to be a part of. So to describe it, you might say, Susie Jones uses an inclusive language in her title to draw in parents, making them feel as if they are on the same side as her and the majority of the school community. All parents are encouraged to feel a shared sense of responsibility if they allow this ban to come into effect. So it will be their fault if they don't let their kids have a Muck Up Day. So it makes them feel like they have to act. So what you should be doing at this point is you're making some little notes on the side. Now, obviously, there's a lot of highlighting here and there's quite a bit of typing here. You're not going to be able to fit all of that around there, but you might make some small notes. You might add it to your exercise book. It's up to you. Okay, so then we've got this long and proud tradition. So that's what's called an appeal to tradition and custom. So Jones compares Muck Up Day to other much loved and valuable rituals, which she repeats to kind of emphasize that idea. She equates it to christenings, birthdays, graduations, and weddings. So she is saying Muck Up Day is just like these, another important ritual, another important milestone that young people have the right to participate in their lives. So there's 3 different techniques there. You've got the appeal to tradition, long and proud tradition, events that have a positive connotation. These make us feel good and they feel like important parts of our lives. And then you've got the repetition of the term ritual. So how you can write about that is over here. And it says, Jones compares the event of Muck Up Day with the rituals that are held in esteem by parents, teachers, and students alike. Christenings, birthdays, graduations, and weddings. In doing so, she seeks to persuade her audience that this, as in Muck Up Day, is an important rite of passage for all young people. And you can expand on that if you like, but that's kind of a very brief evaluation of those little techniques there. She goes on to say, in fact, social researchers say, so you might talk about how she uses expert opinion. She's not the only one that holds this opinion that it's an important day. And you might say, Jones is not alone in her opinion. The use of social researchers, so you need to have your quotation marks in there, adds weight to the argument, allowing Jones to be perceived as considerate and thoughtful, and also as if she has researched this and she has a good grasp of this issue. You also have this comment, oh, here we go, taking place for the adult world. Let's highlight that. And that's about an appeal to family values, which means that she is trying to show how, or appeal to parents because they want their children to be ready to be prepared for the workplace when they leave school. And she thinks this is an important step. And she's appealing to parents' need to do everything for their children to ensure that they are ready. And she says that Muck Up Day is part of this process of being ready. Okay, and the last one that I've got here, and I haven't put analysis, but I've just made a little note of it. And this is not clearly up the top here. It's in a different part of the letter. And that can happen. You can use techniques from all across or evidence from all across the piece, but it could be linked to just one argument, okay? And and that's why you can have separate evidence in different parts. This isn't always the case, but I think that this anecdote here, where she's talking about her own experience of Muck Up Day, is part of the point she's trying to make about a long and proud tradition, much loved and valuable, because she's talking about how it's much loved and valuable for her. These terms are very positive and emotional. It's clearly a happy event and memory for her, and she wants that for her children, and she thinks that obviously other parents will want that for their children too, and that's why she brings up this episode from an embarrassing number of years ago. And probably parents are feeling exactly the same thing. They would agree that it was their own Muck Up Day an embarrassing number of years ago. They don't want to remember exactly how many, but just that it was a fun day that their children should have too. All right, now the second argument we made, and that's what the pink highlighting and underlining is about, we said for Jones, the celebrations of Muck Up Day are a just reward, which means a fair reward, after 13 years of study. And it provides students with a safe outlet for them to relieve some of the pressure that has built up in the final year. Because remember, your final year is the biggest year, so it can be quite a stressful time. And that's why we have Muck Up Day, she's saying, to let them just get that out of their system. So she's using some inclusive language. We all know, so that parents and teachers can understand and see themselves as part of the issue. They're positioned to reflect on their own memories of Muck Up Day and how it was a relief after such a stressful final year. And I'm going to highlight the word stressful because it relates to some other terms she uses, which are the repetition of kind of powerful adjectives, which are intended to have an emotional, elicit an emotional reaction from the reader. We should feel sympathy for these children, or empathy that they've had such a hard time. So we've got stressful, they're giving up something, they're cutting back, they're making sacrifices, it's an intense year. So all these phrases are intended for readers to empathize, which means they to stop and put themselves in the shoes of those children and think about how stressful that year is for them. And you could expand on that, of course. We've also got when she says they surely deserve an appeal to our sense of justice, because it's fair that after all of this sacrifice, giving up, stressful, and an admirable effort, it means it's honourable what they've done, they surely deserve. If we want to see ourselves as reasonable individuals, then we would have to agree that they deserve this day. All right, so, and then we've got down here, she says, it might even be thought of as a kind of safety valve. And what this is, when she makes this connection or this contrast, it's an analogy, because she's saying it is quite like the release of a safety valve, and it prevents accumulated exhaustion and stress from being expressed in more negative ways, such as alcohol abuse or self-harm. So she's got the analogy to help parents understand, to give them an image of what might happen and what it might look like if they don't let their children participate in this day. And then she drags them in and appeals to their sense of fear by showing or suggesting what the very worst thing could be if they didn't participate in Muck Up Day, and that being that they might abuse alcohol or self-harm because they are too stressed and exhausted from their studies, and so they can't deal with it if they're denied this Muck Up Day. Now, I've also underlined this up here. It says, get good marks, get into the right university course to decide what they want to do with the rest of their lives. And what that is an example of is listing. And get good marks. Now, the reason that she does that is that it is supposed to mimic the pressure that the students are under. She is stacking up all the pressures that these students face so that the reader can have some understanding of it. Okay? All right, and then we need to move into our last argument. In my group, we decided that Jones concludes her piece in a matter-of-fact tone. So we're going to talk about that. Asking administrators, so that's the teachers and principals, not to punish the majority for the poor choices of only a few. Furthermore, she provides a series of alternative events which might be undertaken by students as a way of celebrating their final day in a controlled and positive environment. And so we're moving on to the blue highlighting here. Now, clearly, there are lots of examples here. When you're doing an analysis, you couldn't talk about all of these. You'd have to cherry pick out the ones that you think are most important and most relevant. But I'm giving you the chance to see all of the ones, or not all of, most of the ones that I can see when I read this, so that in future you get better at picking out lots and then are able to narrow them down to the ones that you actually want to talk about. So, the first thing that we've got is what's called a juxtaposition, and this is a contrast between two things to show how different they are. You put them close together, but to show how different they really are when you set them close together. So, for example, you've got this small group, and this small group is the one that was responsible for the vandalism and the graffiti, okay? And there are only 4 or 5 students compared to this large group, the majority of 120 students. And she's emphasized that when she says that's hardly representative of the vast, decent majority. And when she says decent, she is making that emotional appeal for us to see reason and to be fair and just to those majority 120 students who really didn't do anything wrong and shouldn't be punished. Okay? Then we've also got inclusive language. She says the fact that the school community has condemned the behaviour proves the generally strong values we all share. So inclusive means we feel like we're part of this, and we should feel proud of our school community for what the steps that it has taken in response to this issue. You could say that's also a generalization. We all share. Maybe not everybody in the community does share these strong values in reality, but they probably want to think that they do. So she's appealing to her audience, as in parents and teachers, desire to feel like they have good values. They have strong values. And she also makes this kind of logical and reasonable argument. The fact that the school community has condemned their behaviour proves the generally strong values we have. So there is no question we are a good school community, therefore we shouldn't punish the children because of this sharp difference in this small group versus the large group, this naughty group of 4 or 5 students. And so she comes up with a solution, and her solution is in a matter-of-fact tone. She lays out all the different ways that they might celebrate alternative options, alternative events that they might use to celebrate Muck Up Day instead of, say, what happened obviously in this year with the students she's written this letter in response to. And so we've got a simile. And she said, instead of coming down on them like a ton of bricks, like is the key word there, and that's what makes it a simile. It has like or as. This is also an attack. Who is she having a go at? She's having a go at the administrators who are being unreasonable, she thinks, if they are going to ban the day. And it's the same way that she is attacking them down here when she's saying that these overprotective adults whose own last day presumably lies so far in the past they've forgotten just how special and valuable it really was. So she is attacking with this simile and with this language over protective adults. She's attacking the school and the administrators for their short-sightedness and their inability to look at the past and remember how good the day was for themselves. And why is that effective? Because it positions the students who are also reading this letter, and probably parents, against the administrator and says it's them to blame. They're out of touch and they don't understand what it means to be a young person anymore. And probably in doing so, she unites the parents against them as well. We also have the listing. She lists all these different options. One local school. I've also heard another school, etc. So she lists all the options. And why she does that is because by providing a list of alternatives, she comes across as a logical individual who has reasonably thought about these other opportunities that she says are quite positive and can, she made a comment about it, could be like a fundraiser. So the kids can raise money for a good cause while having a good time. So she's trying to say, look, you can make it about the community. It doesn't just have to be about them. And then we have this last-ditch effort appeal to tradition again. Generations of school leavers before them. And she's again harking back to that belief that we all deserve it and it's only fair and just because that's how it's always been done. It's not fair to deny these kids or her child, who will be in year 12 in a couple of years, obviously, because she's a year 10 parent. It's not fair to deny them of this opportunity. And finally, appeal to our sense of justice. We all deserve, our kids deserve to be allowed to celebrate. So again, it's coming back to that point she was making earlier about it being a just reward for their hard work, okay? So you might even, no, I think you want to keep that where it is. You want to talk about it in your last paragraph or your conclusion. She's quite forthright the way she says our kids deserve. It's very assertive. She knows what she wants to say and she is trying to position other people to feel that same certainty that she does. All right, one last thing to talk about is the image. Now, you can't forget the image. Whenever you're analyzing, you must make sure that you mention in your analysis where the image further reiterates an argument that's being made in the writing. So it says, this photograph shows students holding a dress-up charity fun run for their Muck Up Day. So this is reiterating this point she made here about it being a charity fun run. Okay, so I'm going to underline that. And we can see it's bright and colourful. That suggests a really happy and fun vibe. None of that negativity that she talked about, that was mentioned, in the background information about the vandalism and the graffiti and the negative group of, the small group of 4 or 5 students. They are the opposite of this great fun group who are out there having a good time and obviously doing something for a good cause. Now, you'll also notice that you can't see any of the heads of these people. And what that means is that the audience, which could be parents or students or teachers, they themselves can imagine that this is them participating in their own day, or it's their children participating in their Muck Up Day. It means the lack of identity means that they can place themselves in that image and really try and empathize with and imagine what it would be like not to have their own Muck Up Day anymore, just because of a handful of poorly behaved people. And she's also suggesting, when she says the dress up charity fun run, this could lead to a really good community outcome and could be good for the school, which has generally strong values. So again, preserving those. Right, I'm going to leave that there. I will paste these resources on the classroom as well, so hopefully you'll be able to see these. They'll also be linked down below, but I'll keep this under 25 minutes. I'll pause there. Make sure you've made your annotations, and I look forward to discussing this more with you in class, especially the impact on the audience. Thanks for listening.